This basket is called red willow wall basket. So it's made with red Orser willow, so local to this area. And if you look over in the back, it's called a wall basket because it's flat in the back. So it'll go up against a wall. So usually they consist of a handle, the rim, and then they place the ribs in to give it the weavy look. So yeah, red willow wall basket. Here we have a container that is made out of birch bark, sewn with spruce root, and the trim is also spruce root. And it also has like a decorative birch bark trim to help stabilize the upper edge. And then it's sewn here on the corners. Usually what they would do is seal these seams with spruce pitch in order to make it watertight. If you looked at the stitching, and here you know it's spruce root when you could see like the little eyes, because the eyes are on the roots as well as on the tree where the branches grow out of. So eventually that would have been where a new root will grow out of. So you could tell that that is real birch, real spruce root. And then even with the trim to reinforce the edge, you'll see another eye on this trim. So bigger root and thinned out to half the thickness to fit around this basket. So, and these are, they come from Northwest Territories. Their bark is a lot thicker than ours here in this area. Here we have a birch bark basket or container. So you'll find these containers in many different shapes and forms, but they're all sewn with porcupine quills, and they're usually trimmed with sweetgrass. So here, this lid has 4 rows of sweetgrass on it, and they usually, you use a different piece of bark opposite the eye. The eyes are usually placed opposite. So one's going this direction and one's going here. And that's just to reinforce your lid so it doesn't bend in different directions. And then for the bottom, you could see how many pieces went into here. You have your outer area where you decorated with your porcupine quills. You have an inner layer to reinforce this outside. And then the bottom would have 2 layers as well, so it didn't bend. And then they trim all the edges with sweetgrass. So if we had smell-o-vision, you could really smell the sweetgrass on this basket. This small container here is called a pine needle basket. So it's a coiled basket. And what they use to do the pine needle coiling is a ponderosa pine needle. So you could pick this in BC, so interior to the west coast, they have ponderosa pine trees. And the ponderosa pine trees are not like the jack pine in our area here in Lac La Biche. These ponderosa pine needles usually grow between up to about 12 inches long, and they have 3 needles, whereas a jack pine in our area only has 2 needles. And where you see these different colors is where the student has added a little bit of wax on top of where the pine needles connect. So wherever they connect, they have like a little core to connect them. And then they do a stitch coiling the basket to the thickness that they want. And here they added a ring so that it would sit in the little basket. So you could see all the stitching on the inside where they started and they coiled outward to form a design. So that's called a ponderosa pine needle coiled basket. So with these baskets, we have here it's a lime grass, again, a style of coiling, like the last little pine needle basket. So it's a style of, in Labrador, how they coil the grass. And also here, for this decoration, is a layer of seal skin is woven in to give a decoration. And for the little head of the basket, this is a carved soapstone seal head for a handle of this basket. So a type of coiling. Over here we have again the lime grass coiling. So this one is more of a round shape, as that one was more flatter. So they start coiling. You can see how they begin. Usually they'd begin here at the very bottom and go around and around and keep bending it. And for decoration, they used like an embroidery floss to do a decoration all the way around. And then they brought it inward. And for the lid, the coiling would have started here at the top of the lid for the little handle and went downward and out. And then added 2 coils in the middle so that it fit into the container tightly. Over here we have this is called a black splint basket. So all of these little curls and the thickness of this woven basket, so they would go in the bush and they would collect a black ash tree and cut it into like a 2x4 shape, bring it home and hammer on it over a sawhorse until all the wood splintered into thin strips. And then they would cut the strips to whatever thickness they needed to weave a basket. And then they would use different dyes to dye it to make the basket. So all of this is hand done, from collecting the black ash in the bush to making their own natural materials to weave a basket. So that's the black ash splint basketry. And we have 2 different styles. This one here is also a black ash splint basket. And they would have made all their material from a natural piece of wood in the bush and then coiled it. So this one has more like a swirl, where these ones are a little curly tops on this basket. So for the birch bark baskets, these ones come from Northwest Territories. The bark is a lot thicker, so this would be called a cylinder basket. And it is quilled with porcupine quills for decoration and sewn with spruce root. This here is another style of tray. We looked at one earlier. This one here only has the spruce root trim on the ends. And this is a watertight container because you can look at these seams and see how the bark is folded backward. It's not split up the sides like the last basket was. These are all just folded. So this is what you would call a waterproof container, and you wouldn't need spruce pitch to seal these ends. So you could use this to go to the creek or wherever to get your water. And they also boiled water in a container like this by putting your water in, adding hot rocks to your water. As one cooled off, you'd put another one in, and that's how they got boiling water. This container is called a mocock basket. And these were made in like the East. And what they do is they would have stitched here with spruce root, reinforced this upper edge with the spruce root and bark. And they would have made containers this size, big enough, this style I mean, but they were large enough to carry up to 50 pounds of maple syrup or maple sugar, and these containers were used to transport like the maple sugar and the syrup to Europe on ships. So they used to have quite a large birch tree in order to make these large containers, as they did canoes as well. So this is a mulcock basket with porcupine quill sewing on it. Here we have a birch bark container. This is called the fishing creel, and the decoration on it is called etching. So whatever they took away from here to make it lighter is just scratched, and a thin layer of the bark is removed, and they didn't touch the area that they wanted the design to show. So here they have leaves and flowers and a tree and a different style of flower in the background, another tree, and at the top they have a little decoration around the sides, similar flowers as to the back, and here there's two fish. And what they would have did was they have this little lid that you would open, and you'd throw your fish down in that little hole. So it's probably was used to catch brook trout or smaller fish. And they have a string here that you would carry it over your shoulder with. So that's a fishing creel with birch bark etching. So with this container, this is also a red willow basket, similar to the wall basket we looked at earlier, but on a larger scale. So this is called a potato basket. So the willows are a lot bigger, they used in this basket. And it would be a melon shape. And the way they call it a melon shape is because of these ribs that make the basket go into that like a melon shape. But this is on a large scale, and it's made for carrying potatoes. You could probably use it for like a baby bassinet as well, depending on what size of basket you would want to, or whatever you're going to be using it for. So red orser or dogwood willow basket. So here we have two different shapes of baskets that are interior salish cedar root with cherry bark. So the cherry bark is the darker areas that they use to decorate it, and the cedar is the main part of the basket. So with this basket, it's a square container with a little rim around it, and then cedar for the background, cherry root to give the different colors of decoration on there. And the corners seem to all have these little 5 square marks. And on this shaped basket here is more tapered down. And it starts here in the center and it's coiled outwards. So it's coiled the same as the earlier when we looked at the lime grass basket or even the pine needle basket. They're all coiled similar. So you have a core and then cedar that's wrapped around a core to form each of these rows to shape your basket. And the lid would have been started the same. So it started up here in the center and it's coiled around and around and then spread outward to make the size that you needed. And then they added 2 rims inside so that it inserts into this basket and sits tightly in there. Here we have an Apache willow shoots and devil's claw and yucca root basket. So that's where you would get your different colors. Either the yucca root or the devil's claw for the colored parts, and the main part of the basket is made with willow shoots. So again, it's a type of coiling started in the middle bottom and coiled outward, and that would be whatever shape you wanted. And it also has a little leather tie here to hang it when it's not in use. This basket is called the strawberry root basket. So the strawberry roots would have been picked, split, and woven the same as the red willow basket, where you have that melon shape, because the ribs are what gives it the body of the basket. It just a different style of ear was, this one they call a God's eye weave to do this ear, whereas on the willow basket it was just a half of a woven ear. So that's the strawberry root basket.